Welcome to this video. I'm going to show you how to make this, the Riddle Terminal. The more you take, the more you leave behind. What am I? I am footsteps. So this is an on-chain riddle machine. You can see it has sound effects. I'm actually going to mute it so I can talk to you. This is going to be fully on-chain, so this question is on-chain, the answer is on-chain. You submit it, and it will compare your answer to a hashed answer online. There you go, correct. And it will also actually update. Okay, so let me show you this. This is the actual repo. If you're interested in doing this, you can download everything and do it yourself, or you can follow my video and build it all. There is a document here called Build Plan, which has all the information you need. All of the files, all of the structure, everything you need. So I hope you like this video. Here's the next one. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I? Question, 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 question mark. If you know, maybe you can answer it. So I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, the first thing you're going to want to do is make a Netlify account. And you're going to want to connect your Netlify account to your GitHub repo that you're building in. Okay, and that's what I've done here. You can see I've called it Web3 Riddle Game. I've deployed, or I've essentially wiped it, so if I open this, nothing will load, okay? So do that now, just because you're going to have it later, and it's helpful to do it first. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move over just a couple files just to get things going. All right, so here I have the sounds, checking, error, and success. These are going to be used in the game itself. I have the env, which I can actually show you because it's empty. I'm not going to show this to you again. Just understand this is what it looks like. There's a variable called but_private_key. And here you're going to want to put your private key that you can get from MetaMask. And in that wallet, you're going to need ETH on Ethereum, Testnet, Sepolia. Also, this is just a backup, so just note you don't really need this, but it's here just in case. And the Vite contract address, this is the contract address we're going to have after actually deploying everything. So that's what the env looks like. And there's these other files here like git attribute, git ignore. I've put these in now just to kind of save some headache. And I have my build plan. This is what we're going to be looking at for most of this tutorial video. All right, so let's start building. What this is, it's an on-chain riddle game. And what that means is there's going to be a contract that this game is looking at. And the contract has a question, like it has a riddle, and you're supposed to answer that riddle. So that's what this is. So the first step is the user actually arrives at your website. They see that riddle. They type their answer. There's going to be some nice mechanical sounds and effects. They're going to hit submit, and that's going to send their answer to the blockchain. And the blockchain will verify if that answer is correct or incorrect. If it is correct, it will be green with a nice sound. If it is red, it will be, or sorry, if it's wrong, it'll be red with a bad sound. Okay? Then after that happens, we will have a bot that runs on Netlify. Again, this is why Netlify is so cool and so important. There's going to be a background service that's running on Netlify to update that riddle. So if I answer it correctly, there needs to be a new riddle, right? You don't have the same riddle all the time. So Netlify will take some information, it'll push it to the blockchain, and then there'll be a nice, fresh, new riddle. Here is the file folder structure. Just have a look at that if you want, and let's go. So the first thing I always like to do is run a command that's going to create all of the files in the folders, just because it saves me a lot of time. So that's what this long command here does. It doesn't actually put the content into the folders, but what it's going to do is it's going to make everything we need here. Okay, so you see here, right? For example, that. Okay, so that's the first step, making all the files and all the folders. The next one is we need to initialize node package manager. So like that. We're going to set it as module. So like this. And we're going to start to install some stuff. And we're installing Vite, React, Wagmi for crypto, VM also for crypto, some TanStack because it's cool. I'm going to let that load. And we're also going to install Netlify. If you can't tell, I love Netlify. This is the Netlify CLI. This is what we're going to be needing to use for the bot. We're using a thing called Netlify Functions, which is like a quasi backend that will be running. Okay, the next thing I want to mention is in this app, we're going to be using a thing called, or this is the thing I like to do, essentially is take a bunch of free RPCs and put them into one file. And this way you don't need to pay for a private RPC because there's so many free RPCs out there, but the problem is all of them kind of suck. It'll work one day and it won't work the next day, or you'll hit RPC rate limits. And so what I typically do in my projects is I create a file like this. Oh, sorry, I forgot. We already made them. Create a file like this. and I paste in a list like this. Okay, and these are all free RPCs. And what the app will do is it will look at the first one. If it doesn't work, go to this next one, and it'll cycle through those. So this is always good because you never know when you're going to hit rate limits or not. So to have a bunch of them in here is helpful. And also you can extend this to as many as you want. Okay, the next step would be, let's just close that. The next step would be to create the core index. Okay, so this is the, actually I'm going to go through and make, yeah, just these two files. So we have the index here. Let's paste that in. Bum, bum. And we have the Vite config. Paste that in. Bum, bum. Okay, these are just basic files. Most websites will have something like this. The index is just the kind of the home page, and the Vite config is telling Vite what to do. Next, we're going to be making another file called Netlify Toml. This is specifically for our Netlify functions, the one that I was talking about just a second ago. Put that there. Close these. All right, move on. Now we're moving into some fun stuff. So we're going to be installing Hardhat. Okay, so the first step is, we already have that. I don't know if I need this. Let's delete this. So we already have these things. We do need to go into the folder though, so cd contract. Okay, and then I'm going to be installing Hardhat into this. I may not even need to do this command, but let's run it either way. And then install Hardhat. Notice here that it is 2.2217. That's because this is an older version, but Hardhat is quite old and has a lot of issues. And as you can see here, doing it this way is a little bit kind of annoying, but it'll save you a lot of headache later. So let's just do it because I know it works. So paste that in. It's going to install all of these different things into Hardhat, and then after that we're going to initialize Hardhat. All right, so we've installed these. I've initialized it. Note that when you initialize this, do it as a JavaScript project. That's because we're using an older version of Hardhat. It's also important to note that we've kind of isolated this Hardhat into this contract folder because Hardhat is just used for, in this situation, just used for deployments. It can also be used for testing, but not in this situation. So let me just exit out of that. So we're back in the root. Okay, so now we're back in the root. What I'm going to be doing is pasting this contract into our main contract that we're playing with. Okay, so this was created by a guy called PoppySeed Dev, so props to you. It's going to go right here. We can quickly go through it. So the name of this contract is on-chain riddle. It has all these different variables at the top. There's events. Actually, we will be using, the app will be looking at these events to know when it needs a new riddle and which one to go for. So these events are important. This modifier is also important because only my wallet is able to update this contract. Okay, that's why it says required message sender is bot, and we are the bot. Okay, so that's what, you know, the env we put in from our MetaMask wallet. Well, that is the bot. It has two functions. It has the set riddle and the submit riddle. The set is putting a new one in. You can see it's taking two things: the actual string, the riddle, the question, and the hashed answer. We can talk about that later. That's kind of the magic of this example. And the next one is the submit answer, which is submitting a plain text answer in a string. So that's what this contract looks like. We've now added that. What is next? Oh, configure Hardhat. So like I said before, in what I like to do is have rotating RPCs just to avoid any issues. And that's what this is telling Hardhat to know. So it's saying, hey, there's an RPC list. Make sure that you're looking at that and using it here. So let me put that in right here. Where is it? Hardhat config. This may be an issue, but I think for now that's fine. Let's continue. Okay, and now we're going to make the deployment script. This is what Hardhat uses when it takes your contract and puts it onto the blockchain. So let's just paste this in and then we can take a look at it. Deploy. So, actually, we don't need to dig into this too hard. What it's going to do is, here, let's go to these things, right? So let's go here. First, it's going to be looking at the ABI. It's going to get the config. It's going to set the first riddle. So this part's important. So it deploys the contract first. So contract deployed to. That's what this is here. It's deploying contract. And it's actually going to be also setting the first riddle, because if it doesn't do that, there'll be nothing there for anyone to look at. So we'll take the first riddle. And that's why it needs to know the JSON address here, the actual file. Okay, let's continue. So we put that in here. Yep, good. Next step would be to create the actual riddles and the bot. Let's take a second and review what we've done, just so we're all kind of both on track. We have all these files here that we just created. We've initialized the Vite project. We've then installed Netlify. I created this thing called the RPC list.json in order to have cycling RPCs and not have any issues. We've created the core HTML and also the Vite config. We created the Netlify config for Netlify's functions, and we just created Hardhat with all the things it needs, like on-chain riddle and the Hardhat config and the deployment script. And now we are ready to do the riddle bot, which is kind of the fun part. So in scripts generate riddles, I'm going to be pasting this file here. What this is essentially all the questions and all the answers. So that goes into, not this script, it's going into this script here. Paste. And this is something you don't want your users to see, okay? Because it has all the questions and all the answers. You want them to see the questions, but not the answers, right? But I'm going to show you now, just so you understand what this is doing. So this is like I said, this is not going to be public. It's going to be just in your local environment. And it has all the riddles here. I have cities, but no houses. I have mountains, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I? I'm a map. Okay, so this is the question and the answer. But one thing to note here is that the answer is in plain text. If I put this plain text onto the blockchain, anyone could see it and they would know all the answers. So what this file is going to do is it's going to take this answer and it's going to hash it, okay, which means kind of like hide it, obfuscate it. You could also add some salt, which we're not doing in this. So salt would be like, instead of a direct hash, you could add a number to mix it up even more. But we're not going to do that in this just because it complicates things a little bit more. So we have the generate riddle. Later we will run this and I'll show you the actual hashes. But for now, we have the file. The next file we need to make is the bot functions. So once a person answers the riddle, there needs to be a new riddle that's put in. Okay, and that's done on the Netlify Functions. And that's what this file here does. It's quite complicated, so I'm going to explain it, but I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. This one is, where's the file? I forgot. Netlify Functions right here. Oh, Netlify Functions riddle. There we go. Okay, so save that. So just very quickly going through this file, there's, I think, 4 steps. So, well, first one, it's gonna look at the RPC, right? Like I said, it's gonna cycle through. It has the ABI, which is like the kind of the map. So you have your contract, and the ABI is telling what functions are on there, what variables are on there, and this file needs to know what is on that contract. Has some helper functions. So let's see. So the first step is to find the actual contract and understand how. So here, check if the riddle is active. So first it's going to look for the contract. Then it's going to check if the riddle is active. Okay, because if it's still loading the next one, you can't answer it yet. Next one is it's going to get the next riddle index. Okay, so it's going to look, okay, so this one is just finished. What is next? So it's finding the index. Then it's going to set that next one in, and then it's done. One thing to note on here, the get next riddle index, is it's using events for that. It's going to be looking at the riddle set, and then it'll go forward one. So it's kind of looking at, hey, what was the last one that was set? And then +1. So that's that. Now we're going to be building the front-end files. There's a lot of them here. So I'm going to copy paste all of these into the files, and then I'll talk about them just in a second. So we have this one here, main entry. This is kind of like a wrapper that wraps all these things here, the Wagmi provider, the client provider, and the app. So Wagmi is the crypto stuff, or the, I guess looking at the contracts. The client is kind of your MetaMask stuff, and the app is the actual thing we're looking at. So that's what the main JSX does. Next one is the global styles. So this is all the stuff that gives your app flavor, some color, right? So in our app, we have yellow text, we have black background, we have green for success and red for failure. We have some cool scan lines, so this gives it a nice effect here. So a lot of the stuff, there's also animations, so that's what these are here, right? So transitions and the perspective. This is what's going to give it the animation, just really basic, simple animation stuff, the flip. That's what this CSS file does. The Wagmi config, this is, like I said before, Wagmi is how the app is able to understand a contract and how it's able to interact with the contract. And that's what this is doing here. Look, you can see it's connecting to the Sepolia chain. It's using an injected wallet, which is directly into MetaMask, not something like Wallet Connect. We have the Riddle hook. This is how the app is able to talk to the contract and actually interact with the riddles. Like, what is the riddle? So here's, what is the riddle? Am I able to answer it? Has there anyone won it yet? Okay, and it's able to update these things. Next one is the components. These are all the different parts in your app. So the actual flip clock, you'll see that in a second. The Riddle display, the Wallet Connect button. This one's pretty important if you build anything else. And then we have the main app itself. This is the actual body of the app. So it's putting all these things together. So you can see here it's importing these components we just talked about. It's importing everything we just talked about, putting it all in one place. It's using the sounds, right? So for the checking, what else? The keyboard inputs. So everything this is the actual app itself. All right, and now we are ready to finally deploy this thing. I hope. Let's see. Usually this is when you run into a lot of bugs, but hopefully we do not. The first step here is we're going to be generating those riddles. So remember I said before, I showed you the questions and the answers. And I said, hey, you know, you can actually see the answer. This is not good. Well, you can see here it says generated 100 riddles, and that is right here. You can see the same question. I have cities, but no houses. I have mountains, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I? I am OX9DC37BBA. Right, so this is a hash. It's the same answer, but it's hashed, and so no one can read it. So that's what that script does. And this is what's actually going to go onto the blockchain. The blockchain will not have the answer. It will have the hash. And it will compare the user's answer to the hash and see if there's a match. And I'm happy that succeeded. Next one would be the more difficult stuff. So we're going to actually try to deploy our contract. First, we go into the Hardhat folder. And then we have this command here, npx hardhat run scripts deploy. We made that earlier. And if everything succeeds, it will actually deploy our contract onto the blockchain and give us that contract address. And remember, we have our env. This contract address we're going to create is going to go right here. And later it's going to go into Netlify. So the final step will be to put this into Netlify. But for now, we're going to put it here, if this succeeds. Sometimes it takes some time, sometimes it doesn't. It looks like it's taking a little bit more time this time. Oh, we got a bug? Let me take a look. Oh, so, okay, let me fix this really quick. Actually, I just realized what that was. So, it's saying private key, because as I'm showing you, there is no private key here. So I need to actually input my private key in order for Hardhat to work. And the reason is because Hardhat is deploying this to the blockchain. And if you deploy something to the blockchain, you need to have gas in your wallet. And right now, it's like, hey, this wallet does not have any gas. It's because it's not a real wallet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste my actual env in there, and I'll run that command again. With that done, we now have the contract address. And this is going to go into your env as well. Okay, so I'm just going to save that aside for now. And we are almost done. And so we have now created our contract where, let's go back down to the section, back here. So we have now created the contract. We have the contract address. And the final step is just to put it onto GitHub. So if we go back to Netlify, remember there's nothing here, right? If I go to this, it's completely empty. So what I'm going to do in a second is I'm going to push this to GitHub, and you're going to see it populate in here, okay? There's actually one more step after that, which I will show you. But let's first push this to GitHub so you can see that. So push to GitHub. You see here it says building. That means it's taking my GitHub stuff, putting it into Netlify. And so after this, we should be able to see our app. It won't be fully functional yet, but it will be there. You'll be able to see it and touch it and smell it. If everything goes well, that is. There we go, published. And so now when I click this button, actually I can just refresh this. Ta-da-da-da, there we go, hooray. I have cities, but no houses. I have mountains, but no trees. I have water, but no fish. What am I? And there's the rest of it. Okay, but it's actually not going to work. There's one more step before we can use it. The final step is you have to actually put in your env. Okay, so let's do this. So to get to the env, you go to your project, you click on project configuration, you scroll down to environment variables. And Netlify is pretty cool. You can click this button and just paste in the entire thing. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to pause so you don't see my key. Okay, and we are now done. You can see bot private key, again, Sepolia as a backup, and Vite contract address. This is the one that we we got from Hardhat. You can see it's right here. Okay, with all that said, I'm going to finish this video. I will actually show this app in action at the start of this video, so you've probably already seen it. I hope this was helpful for you. Please contact me if you have any questions. Thank you and goodbye.